India's daily COVID count inches towards the 3 lakh mark, there is panic as Remdesivir, the antiviral injection drug that is being used to treat severe COVID cases, has run out. Social media is awash with SOS messages by relatives. A thriving black market has cropped up. There are long queues outside stores of Remdesivir distributors. Websites like Dr. Reddy's tracking the availability of the drug say there is simply no stock available. Well, the government says the drug is available in plentiful. They say the panic has been induced by the irrational use of the drug by doctors. Dr. V.K. Paul, he's the head of India's COVID-19 task force, in a press briefing has said, and I quote, Remdesivir is an investigational drug whose use in home settings, he says, is unethical. Now, according to protocol, it can only be used on hospitalized patients who are on oxygen. He has requested doctors across India now to use Remdesivir rationally and judiciously. Not just Remdesivir, he says, even FAVIPIRAVIR, the other antiviral option to fight COVID, has run out in Delhi.
So we've been having e-ICUs for various hospitals across the country for the last many months. I've probably talked to doctors in more than 500 hospitals. And I have noticed, and I've corrected them, many doctors had started giving Remdesivir on day one. So you had a person who was tested positive, is asymptomatic. He has very minimal symptoms. His saturation is 98, 99, and he was being given Remdesivir. The logic was being given was that, let's kill the virus as early as possible. Remdesivir is not that effective a drug. It has, in all the data that we have, it has been shown only to decrease hospital stay. It's not been shown to decrease mortality. And wherever it's been found to be useful, it's been found to be useful in those with moderate illness who are admitted, usually around the 5th to 7th day, whose oxygen saturation is falling and who have lung infiltrates or a CT showing a moderate to severe disease as far as the lung is concerned. Like I've been telling people over the last 7 months, that you have to look at your treatment strategy not only with the drugs that you have, but the timing of the drugs that is there. It's true not only for Remdesivir, it's true for steroids. So it's very important to understand that when you are giving a drug, the drug is useful, but the timing of the drug is also very useful in COVID-19.
Why did pharma companies slow down production? There are 7 companies that have license to make and market Remdesivir in India. Zydus Cadila, Hetero Drugs, CIPLA, Dr. Reddy's, Sun Pharma, and Jubilant Life Sciences. Together, they have the capacity to produce 38.80 lakh vials per month. The government may have given the green signal now to double the production, but it will take time. At the end of 2020, as COVID cases dipped in India, the demand for Remdesivir dried up. With the result, between December to February, there was almost zero production of the drug. By mid-March, as the second wave became visible, there was a scaling up, but the 25 raw materials needed to make the drug were not available immediately, courtesy the COVID situation. Speaking to the Economic Times, Dr. Sharvil Patil, the MD of Zydus Cadila, the largest maker of the drug, says that nothing can happen overnight. It takes 5 days to produce the drug, and then it needs to undergo a 14-day sterility test. Add 3 days for transportation, and you're looking at a 25-day cycle at least. He says by the end of the month, the situation should ease. How does Remdesivir work? Remdesivir works by blocking the virus from copying itself. It essentially tricks the virus into believing that it is a building block of the viral's genetic material. Remember, Remdesivir is a prodrug, which means it's inactive at the time of injection. Once injected, the host cell metabolizes it into its active form, Remdesivir triphosphate. Now, this is where the game begins. Remdesivir triphosphate is very similar to something the virus produces when it replicates a genome. It's a nucleotide called adenosine triphosphate. The Remdesivir triphosphate tricks the virus into using it into the copies of the RNA instead of adenosine triphosphate. It very cleverly also evades the proofreader enzyme by slotting itself into the RNA at a slightly different position from where the adenosine triphosphate is supposed to be. This ultimately prevents the replication of the coronavirus. So what has the government done to address this crisis as far as Remdesivir is concerned? For one, it has recently banned the export of Remdesivir injections and active pharmaceutical ingredients that are used to make it. 2 days ago, it also fast-tracked applications to scale up production of Remdesivir. The 7 pharmaceutical companies that make the drug can now double their capacity and produce 78 lakh vials together. The Health Ministry has also asked all manufacturers to display the details of their stockists and distributors on their websites. Does Remdesivir work against COVID-19? Well, the jury is still out on how effective Remdesivir is against COVID-19. It is, of course, part of the Government of India's protocol to treat serious patients. It has FDA approval in the United States of America, where studies have shown that it speeds recovery in hospitalized cases. An IDSA panel, again in America, says that COVID-19 patients with supplemental oxygen who are not on mechanical ventilation can be treated with 5 days of injections of Remdesivir instead of 10. But the WHO, that's the World Health Organization, is saying that Remdesivir is not the lifesaver that it is being made out to be. Remdesivir originally was developed by the Gilead Sciences in collaboration with the United States Center for Disease Control and the US Army's Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. It was designed as an experimental drug to combat RNA viruses that have the potential to cause global pandemics. It was, very importantly, ineffective against Ebola and yet was repurposed for SARS-CoV-2, which is the coronavirus. Currently, it has been authorized for emergency use in 50 countries. If you are looking for Remdesivir for yourself or your relatives, where should you look? CIPLA is transporting Remdesivir injections directly to hospitals where a patient has been admitted to beat the black market. Their website is www.cipla.com. The helpline number is 865-7311-088 and their email ID is infoavailability@cipla.com. All of these can be contacted for help. Dr. Reddy's website, readytofightcovid.in, lists all hospitals and pharmacies that stock the drug. Their 24/7 helpline can be reached at 1800-266-708.
So it's important to understand that Remdesivir is not the magic bullet and it is not a drug which is decreasing mortality. However, it does have a role and therefore it is being used that we may use Remdesivir because we don't have a good antiviral drug.